Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. And if you enjoy the content of this channel and or of this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video so that we can grow the channel. So today I want to talk about yet another fallen politician. This story comes out of Florida, Tallahassee, Florida. The Florida Secretary of State, Mike Erdle, who posed in blackface or dressed up in blackface at a Halloween party. Who does that? Okay. So anyway, let's get into the story. And this is a picture of him. I know it's the play button over it, but that's him. Trust me, there's plenty of other pictures that you're going to see of this man. Thursday morning, Michael Erdle, appointed Secretary of State by Governor Ron DeSantis weeks earlier, testified before a House committee about the several lawsuits filed over the 2018 election. Okay, as we know, Florida always has been a state that has election issues. So I guess they got something going on now. I can't keep up with Florida and their election issues. By mid-afternoon, Erdle turned in his resignation after photos emerged of him posing as a Hurricane Katrina victim in blackface at a private Halloween party 14 years ago, 2 months after 1,800 people were killed by the massive storm. Wow, that paragraph says a lot. So he was at a private party, private Halloween party, having a good time, dressed up as a Hurricane Katrina victim. That is so offensive. But he was comfortable to be there. But guess what? There was somebody at that party who took a picture of him. And I don't know if the person planned to hold this picture to release it later. But guess what? Whoever took that picture of him exposed him. Now, 14 years ago, I'm not sure if cell phones had cameras on them at that time. So it might have been just a regular picture that someone took. But it was probably somebody he knew that probably was waiting for the right moment to release this photo. I'm telling you, you never know who you can trust. So let's read on. The photos obtained by the Tallahassee Democrat, which is where I'm reading this article from, were shown to the governor's office shortly after noon on Thursday. About 2 hours later, it issued a terse statement. I guess, they said, no, we can't have this. Look, we have you in blackface. This is a no-no. Everybody knows it's a no-no to do blackface. So that tells me that he was at this Halloween party. He was comfortable. And he definitely didn't think he was going to be exposed. But he had an enemy in the camp that he didn't know about. And they held on to that photo and they exposed it. The governor accepted Secretary Erdle's resignation, the governor's office said, as they should have. Shortly after the statement was issued at a news conference on hurricane relief in Mariana, DeSantis addressed the resignation. It's unfortunate. I think he's done a lot of good work, DeSantis said, adding that he accepted his resignation because I don't want to get mired into a kind of side controversies. And so I felt it was best to just accept the resignation and move on. And he's absolutely right. When you're the face of an organization or you're a leader, and you have controversy that surrounds you, sometimes depending on the controversy that is surrounding you, it is best for you to resign. Because what happens is if you stay in that position, you can mess up the mission or not get the support that the mission needs because they're so distracted by your mess. And another sad thing about this is that all the good works that this man has done, and we're going to read about that later, guess what? Because people like mess and drama, the fact that he resigned because he dressed up in blackface is going to play a big part in his legacy. We see it happen over and over again. people who have done great things, made great contributions to our society that will live on forever and ever. They get caught up in a scandal. And when they pass away, what overshadows the news? Yeah, they'll mention the good things that they do, but they will focus on the scandal. So his legacy is a little tainted now because he decided to dress up in blackface as a Hurricane Katrina victim. DeSantis also said he thinks Ertl regrets what happened 14 to 15 years ago. Of course he does. But at the same time, I want people to be able to lead and not have things swirling around them. Exactly. Department of State Chief of Staff Jennifer Kennedy was appointed interim Secretary of State. She was acting secretary following the resignation of interim Secretary Don K. Roberts in 2011. The photo was taken in 2005, 8 months after Ertl was appointed Seminole County Supervisor of Elections and 2 months after Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans. So you mean to tell me it was only 2 months later, and trust me, 2 months later, the New Orleans is not what it is today, even though New Orleans still has not returned to what it used to be, and people still are affected by what happened there. And you have several people that were scattered across the United States because they were never able to return to their homes. So 2 months later, he went to a Halloween party dressed in blackface as a Hurricane Katrina victim. Just 2 months when it was still fresh. That is appalling. And I know he has to be embarrassed that someone leaked that photo. But what they say, when you do what you do in the dark comes to the light. I'm a strong believer in that, and you never know how it's going to come out. After the Democrat texted the photos to him last week, Ertl 49 identified himself as a white man in blackface and red lipstick, wearing earrings and a New Orleans Saint bandana and falsies under a purple t-shirt that had Katrina victim written on it. Wow, my blood is just like boiling right now over this. Over the phone and in person, Ertl would not comment on the record about the circumstances in the photo. There he is. Here is the photo that someone took and kept for insurance or kept to ruin this man, and they were quite successful at it. Look at the bandana. Are they earrings that's on his ears? And the shirt looks like he's drinking a beer. He looks very comfortable in his surroundings. Okay, and this doesn't look like this is at some, fancy place. It's a private party, so it may be at someone's house, but he felt comfortable wherever he was. And he had no idea that 14 or 15 years later, that someone would release this photo of him. He had no clue. And if you haven't heard of Hurricane Katrina, please do some research on it. They have documentaries on it. They have news footage on it. A lot of people lost their lives. They lost property. It was so bad. I mean, dead bodies floating down the street. People holding on to their loved ones only to have the water snatch them out their hands and take them away. People on top of their roofs of their houses waiting to be rescued. I'm talking children, handicapped, elderly, adults. Nobody was safe, and it was devastating. So many lives were lost. And to think that this photo was only taken 2 months after that. 2 months after that. And New Orleans still hasn't been the same. Even though they have festivals, they have things down there, New Orleans, trust me, is not the same New Orleans. And every part of that place still hasn't been built up. So this is appalling and it's disgusting. There is nothing I can say, Ertl said. Wow, he can't even fake an apology. I guess he said, if I don't mean it, I'm not saying it. I mean, at least say I'm sorry, even if you don't mean it. I mean, be politically correct. You are a politician. We all know it's bullshit, but at least you attempted. So he can't even say sorry. Maybe he'll do it later. I don't know. But at this point, it's too late now because he had the opportunity to tell this Tallahassee Democrat newspaper that he was sorry or come up with some type of line. But he just said, I don't have anything to say. Wow. Ertl gave a presentation Thursday morning to election litigation before a House subcommittee. He submitted his resignation in an email around 2 p.m. He probably saw that photo and pooped his pants. He was like, oh my gosh. He probably was shocked that they even had the photo. And he's probably right now trying to figure out what snake took it and released it. I am submitting my resignation as Florida Secretary of State effective immediately, he wrote. It has been an honor to serve you and the voters of Florida. DeSantis named Ertl on December 28th to replace Ken Detzner, who served as former Governor Rick Scott's Secretary of State since 2012. So here we have another one. He was just only in this position for less than a month. And then whoever was holding on to that photo, his hater or somebody who wanted to expose him, they leaked this photo, and now his political career is over, at least being in the spotlight. He might have to go behind the scenes and do some things. The legislature is immense in a debate about how to implement Amendment 4, which restored voting rights to some 1.4 million ex-felons. The Secretary of State is Florida's chief of elections. Okay, and they did that here. We had some the ex-felons where I am. They can also now vote, which I do support that. If you've done your time, you should be able to vote. DeSantis, who was against the amendment before the election, advised waiting to register them until the legislature passed enacting legislation. Some counties, however, have begun the process. Whew. Oh my goodness. There he goes again. Wow. He's looking right into the camera. At this point, he looks like he's probably a little tipsy or drunk. He probably finished drinking that beer that we saw in that previous photo. So he actually posed for the photo. Very disturbing, and this is embarrassing. Ertl said he sent an email to the county election supervisors to accept all applications from ex-felons. The January 8 email doesn't mention Amendment 4 or ex-felons. I want to send a very clear message to you and all Floridians. If you receive a voter registration application, do as you have always done. Accept it, he wrote. The photos are the sole blemish on a seemingly spotless public career, highlighted by a record of increasing voter registration and making the elections office more accessible to the public. So this man seems to be an advocate for voter equality, and that's what his life has been built around. But now, because he decided to be a dumbass and go to a Halloween party that he thought was a private party, not thinking that this will haunt him years later, and dress up in blackface as a Hurricane Katrina victim, now he has a big blemish on his record. When I was in high school, we had to read this book. It was called 1984. And the book, there's a book and there's also a movie. But a big thing that you hear people still say today is Big Brother is watching. Okay? So guess what? That's the society that we live in. You have to live your life like the cameras are always on you, because they are. You're constantly being recorded, knowingly or unknowingly. You can just look on YouTube and find videos of people posting videos that they've taken of people that they don't even know, or people in their families or friends that I'm sure didn't give them approval, and posting it all over social media. People record conversations. You think you're talking to your best friend, but she's just storing up, or he's just storing up conversations just in case they need to use it in the future. We have to be smart. Big Brother is watching. Trust me. Okay, where was I? All right. All right, so let's go into his career timeline. Ertl began serving as supervisor of elections for Seminole County on February 5th, 2005. It's the same year he dressed up in blackface as a Katrina victim. When Governor Jeb Bush named him to replace Dennis Joyner, who stepped down for health reasons. He ran against Democratic Party activist Marion Williams in 2006, beating her with 59% of the vote. He was subsequently reelected without opposition. The same year, he participated in monitoring the New Orleans mayoral sorry, y'all, mayoral election. It's 12:30 at night, so forgive me. The city of Longwood gave him a Martin Luther King Jr. Award. Wow, for registering voters. So that lets me know he registered a lot of minority voters. In 2012, Ertl spoke out against Governor Rick Scott's purge of so-called non-citizens from the voter rolls, saying many of those who were purged were actually eligible voters. So he was a big voter equality advocate. He received a Martin Luther King Jr. Award. But yet he thought it was cool to dress up in blackface, mocking a Katrina victim when the event just happened and they were still facing the biggest turmoil of the event 2 months later. Wow. I don't know what to say about you, Mr. Ertl. But anyway, here's his photo as Secretary of State. I guess he took this, when he first got elected in December, or got appointed in December. Well, I'm quite sure they will be probably taking this photo down now. Ertl has also won international awards for his plans to restore voter confidence and trust in the election system. Prior to his time in public office, Ertl was in public relations and was the first professional public affairs spokesman for Seminole County. After the 2004 hurricanes hit Florida, Ertl provided post-disaster media relations for Visit Florida. Before that, he spent 8 years in the U.S. Army providing public relations during the 1992 LA riots and in Macedonia and Bosnia. So he knows better. That's the end of the article. So, this is a man, let me leave it right there. This is a man who was very well aware of racial tensions, racial inequality. But behind the scenes, he dressed up in blackface. Now, some would say that he's a racist. I'm not going to go that far to say that because I don't know him. But to me, this is a sign that he could be. If it came out that he was a racist, even though in the public eye he was, doing things for minorities, I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised that at that same party were other politicians who thought this was cool and funny to make fun of that tragic event while posing as a Hurricane Katrina woman victim in blackface. He thought that was okay to do. So, at the end of the day, we live in a different society now. Everything is recorded. You're constantly being filmed. You need to watch what you do and watch what you say, because you never know who's holding on to it, as they say, for receipts in case they need to use it later, because someone wants to expose you or because someone wants to destroy you. So let Mr. Ertl be a lesson to you on how to live your life publicly. And if you are seeking public office, know that you have to live your life in that way so that there's no dark clouds that will be exposed when you try to run for office. So that concludes my commentary and article reading tonight. And if you enjoyed the content and the discussion, please subscribe to the channel, share the video, and like the video, and leave any comments that you would like below. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.